regions, including ATL FM Cape Coast, Might FM Tamale, Gbewa Radio Yende and Nkiligi FM Bole. Get radio, TV and online content on the myjoyonline.com interactive app for Android and iOS devices. Coming up, the National Security Minister will take his turn before Parliament this morning alongside IGP Dampari as the ad hoc committee continues its inquiry into a conspiracy to depose Ghana's police chief.
Said he appeared before the NIB. So if he said so, then how does that synchronize with what we are doing here and the evidence? That's what we are attempting to find out.
Meanwhile, Superintendent George Asari insists allegations made against the IGP are true in spite of the IGP's denial. Also, 2 arrests, rains, equipment malfunction, and low turnout characterized the one of voter registration exercise held across the country.
We've been here since about around hour. People will be bringing protocols, but protocols are it's too much here.
So the process is already endangered.
Meanwhile, lawyers for an 18-year-old Afenia resident to sue the EC for contempt for going ahead with the registration exercise despite a pending injunction application.
But that doesn't mean that we will not hold them accountable. That is why we filed the contempt application. We would ultimately ask the court to commit them to prison.
In business, ratings agency Fitch is hopeful Ghana will reach an agreement with the official creditor committee by the end of this year to pave way for the restructuring of Ghana's external debt by June next year. Also, be cautious when driving on the motorway. That's the advice from the Highways Authority following its discovery of massive bulletin nut theft on bridges built along the stretch.
It has lost its structural integrity, but it has not lost its functional integrity. I will say that anytime I use the motorway, I use my conscience. Why would I do 120 on the motorway? No.
All these coming up shortly. The National Security Minister Albert Kan Dapa will later this morning take his turn before the committee probing the alleged plot to depose the Inspector General of Police. Chairman Samuel Atta Achia says it has become necessary for the minister to appear before it because some witnesses have already been investigated by his ministry. Samuel Mbura has a wrap of events from yesterday's hearing where the IGP Dr. George Akufo-Dampare made his first appearance.
The IGP Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee, expressed disappointment over the allegations made by his 2 officers.
This is just not fair. It is just not fair. Are we killing patriotism that anybody can just get up, make allegations upon allegations?
The IGP has further dismissed claims that he masterminded the recording of the leaked tape.
Honorable Chair, I do not have a working relationship with him.
You in cahoots with Chief Bugri Nabu got these individuals taped. What will be your response to that, sir?
Honorable Chair, that is untrue.
We know COP Alex Mensah has accused the IGP of being the worst Ghana has ever had. But this is what Dr. George Akufo-Dampare said.
So even granted that I'm the worst, then all of us collectively are the worst, including probably my brother who was serving in that capacity as member of the team that I lead.
The IGP has, however, said he does not harbor any hatred or pain against his officers that have caused him pain. Meanwhile, Committee Chairman Samuel Atachia reveals National Security Minister will be the next to appear before the committee.
The matters concerning the National Security Minister will be in camera, but the rest of them will take a quality decision. Because one of the witnesses said he appeared before the NIB. So if he said so, then how does that synchronize with what we are doing here and the evidence? That's what we are attempting to find out.
Samuel Mbura, Joy News, Parliament House.
Meanwhile, Alfred Papadakwa, lawyer for Superintendent George Asari, says his client stands by his allegations against the IGP.
We shall see. When we get into the nitty-gritties, we shall see about that.
Which means that you have evidence to point to the contrary, that the IGP indeed, through his assigns or by himself, may have some foreknowledge of how the tape was procured.
We will get there. The allegations that have been made by my client, he still stands by it, and he will be given the opportunity to prove them.
Alfred Papadakwa is lawyer for Superintendent George Asari. Now, moving on, the limited voter registration exercise is expected to continue today. Day one was marked by 2 arrests, equipment malfunctions, and a disappointingly low turnout. The Electoral Commission, despite facing multiple lawsuits by 5 political parties, proceeded with the exercise in its district offices nationwide. Checks by Joy News revealed many prospective voters who queued to register were frustrated by delays and other challenges. Here's a wrap of day one's exercise.
Despite pushbacks, the Electoral Commission has already started enrolling Ghanaians onto the electoral roll. For many of the registrants, their eagerness to be enlisted soon turned into disappointment. In the Upper West region, 2 persons were arrested for double registration.
So far, 2 people have been detected for attempting to register twice. They told us that they registered in 2016, not knowing it was registration done in 2020.
At Akomadan in the Ofing North District of the Ashanti region, registrants alleged that the process has been fraught with biases.
While the National Democratic Congress says it is dissatisfied with the process, at a presser, National Chairman Johnson Isiedun Ketia says the challenges were unacceptable and geared towards to disenfranchise voters in the NDC strongholds.
So the process is already endangered. Now, most centers across the country started after 8:30. Greater Accra, Ododo here, they started at 10 a.m. Ablikuma West, 10:40 a.m. We have an issue of network challenge too. About 70% of the centers running online are slow.
Meanwhile, lawyers for an 18-year-old resident of Afenya will this morning file for contempt against the EC for going ahead with the exercise despite application to injunct the process. Here's lawyer Nick Bakpo Samuel Addo.
It is not that the mere filing acts as an injunction, but when you are on notice that you are not supposed to do something, or somebody is seeking to stop you from doing something.
The Ghana Highways Authority is warning motorists using the Tema motorway to be cautious as the stretch has lost its structural integrity. Public Relations Officer Cecil Ni Obodai Wintum says until there are enough funds to reconstruct the motorway, users must simply exercise caution.
It has lost its structural integrity, but it has not lost its functional integrity. I will say that me, anytime I use the motorway, I use my conscience. Why would I do 120 on the motorway? No. So what it means is that until the motorway is fixed, until we come to a national consensus and decide or we agree that we must fix the motorway, anybody who uses the motorway must be cautious. And we must, especially on the Accra-bound section of the motorway.
Another truck last night crashed into the Accra toll booth days after the commencement of works to remove damaged toll booths. The truck driver blames the accident on warning signs that have been placed too close to the construction site. My colleague Carlos Coloni reports.
This 50-year-old truck driver, Otre Dako Ampem, is here to share his experience with us with regards to an accident he had last night. So tell us, what really happened yesterday? Where were you coming from?
I'm from Tamale to Tema, and the place the refractors is not supposed to be that way.
And to Climate Focus today, Ghana has in recent times experienced devastating impacts of floods, especially in major cities of the country. The rainfall distribution in the next 2 weeks, according to the Meteorological Agency, may lead to more floods in low-lying areas. On Climate Focus, Kofi Edidonfe examines if communities and individuals are prepared for these changes.
The rains have come down heavy in the past months. In most instances, floods causing havoc, properties and lives have been lost. The rains could be worse in the weeks ahead, according to the Ghana Meteorological Agency.
We should be worried because the issues that we get are not just limited to the amount of rainfall that we get. So we should be worried and then be cautious as we enter the minor rainfall season.
Building resilience is still far from reach. The few natural support systems are under attack by the powerful and affluent in society. Environmental analyst Eugene Osei-Tutu says this should not continue if Ghana is to adapt efficiently to climate change.
They must ensure that people are not building in waterways, people are not, creating community centers, artificial beaches and all these things that you see in our communities on waterways.
And Kofi Edudonfe with our climate focus for today. And that ends the bulletin. In our top story, the National Security Minister will take his turn before Parliament this morning alongside IGP Dampare as the ad hoc committee continues its inquiry into a conspiracy to depose Ghana's police chief. I am Amici Nyamiche Thompson. Business is on shortly on the Super Morning Show.